Hello and welcome to Building Solid Foundations Radio. This is your host, Steve Matley. We are live in the studio with Matley Shaw. She's a doctor of pharmacy. Remember, we are on KCAA Radio. We are also in the archives on KCAA.com. If you miss us live, we are live every Thursday and Sunday at 3 p.m. Or you can catch us on a streaming channel. We are on Roku. We have Fire TV and Android under the Building Solid Foundations channel, along with a lot of other really great shows. Or catch us on any one of the 15 podcast platforms we're on. We're probably on your favorite platform. So today with Matley Shaw in the studio, we're going to talk about health and wellness because Matley Shaw is a gut health expert, licensed in California. She's also a world traveler. She likes to explore different cultures. She has a passion for health, wellness, travel, nature, and she seeks to add immense value to the lives of her clients. Her happiness lies in doing good for our earth and giving back to the community. Welcome, Dr. Matley Shaw.
Thank you so much for such a warm welcome.
So you have a few things in your bio in your description, and just so you listeners know, I know Dr. Shaw outside of here. It's not like the first time we've met. We know each other more from a real estate investing world.
Yes.
Because I'm involved in that, and she is as well. So she's not a one-dimensional person at all. I like to think I'm not either, but so we've got more in common than that. So we know each other a little bit outside of here. But we've never really talked a lot about what she does for a living and what her real interests and passions are. And that's why I wanted her on the show to talk about these things. I've had a more recent interest in things like gut health. And so just to bring you up to speed, I went to a doctor, I don't know, about 3-4 years ago. They did blood panels on me. I was trying to figure out, things change. You get old. Right. What I've learned is every time the Earth takes a lap around the sun, something else goes wrong, right? You get a little older, right? So they ran the panels and basically said, okay, you're eating the wrong stuff. Stop that. They gave me a list. They basically said, here's a list of anything you want as long as it's on this list. Unfortunately, everything I wanted to eat wasn't on that list, although I've learned that I actually really like the stuff that was on that list.
Oh, wow.
The problem
so that worked out.
Yeah, the problem is there's pizza and chocolate cake in the fridge, all the vegetables are going to rot. So you just keep that stuff out of the house, right?
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about gut health and what your experience is and how you got into it and why that became a passion of yours.
Absolutely. So the title gut health expert chose me. I didn't choose it.
Okay.
And why I say that is because just like any other teenager, I would eat all the wrong things, and you have sweet tooth and you love pizza and
salty and sweet.
And you go out on the weekends, and what happened is all that was a part of the lifestyle while you're in college and even doctorate school. But then it kind of takes a toll on you when you have to combine that with the stressors of performing in these high-performing schools where your grades have to be so top-notch. So I was in a school that was 90% pass or fail. Okay. So even 89% is considered fail. So that pressure was high. And what happened was at the age of 23, while I was in my doctorate school, the second year, I got really sick with gut issues. And straight up to the point where I couldn't sleep, major gut problems, where it was just feeling like almost I have stomach cancer. And
so it's kind of an allergic reaction of the body saying, stop putting this stuff in me, right?
Yeah, my body's saying, if you do this, you're not going to survive. And about 6 months, I slept on a recliner, and that's when my challenges were, getting more fruition, where I'm learning what's happening. Doctors are like, oh, let's do endoscopy, let's do colonoscopy. Someone's saying I have celiac disease, someone's saying I have gluten allergy, or just all these random things getting thrown at me.
So my experience with that is, depending which expert you go to, it's always their field. Right. If you go to the allergist, then it's probably a gluten. If you go to the chiropractor, you need an adjustment. Right. Yeah. Everybody's got they've got their hammer, and everything looks like their nail. Right.
Yeah, and then they will throw other things. You should go to this person or that person. Right. So that's basically where I was standing. And then I had a student insurance, so I wasn't really well taken care of. So then I was like, okay, I need to really become proficient myself.
Now, my experience with insurance, and I had this discussion with a compounding pharmacist that we had on the show a few weeks back, and that is that the insurance is really designed to deal with the symptoms after you have a problem. And there's really nothing there to prevent problems. Your insurance doesn't cover a homeopathic practitioner. It doesn't cover a nutritionist. It doesn't cover
acupuncturist,
a physical, what do you call it, a personal trainer.
Yeah.
It doesn't cover any of those things. What it covers is drugs and surgeries and those
surgeries and diagnostics.
That's right.
So I was just like really thrown to the wolves.
And at 23, your health is going down the hill at a time when you're supposed to be impervious to everything.
Exactly. So that was when I started researching, reading books. I hired a nutritionist. And that was one of the best investments I did in my own health, and completely changed my lifestyle and how I was eating, and started understanding like why I could possibly have a gluten allergy. Why is dairy is something that my body is rejecting? Why is alcohol not being processed? And like there are so many things to a person's epigenomic and the pool that we have, and the nutrigenomic, which is how the food is affecting your genes. And you cannot change your gene, you cannot change your DNA, but the gene expression that happens from the DNA can be completely change how the DNA is protected or not. So
okay, and that's the epigenomics, I believe is how you pronounce that. Yeah, that's something I wanted to get into probably in a later segment where we have time to really unwrap that.
Right.
Because I think that's a bit heady. Even for me, I try, I research, okay, what does it mean? What are the examples? I mean, okay, a little above my pay grade. So, but that's all tied to all this.
it is. So that's when I started learning all these things.
You're studying pharmacology at the same time.
Yeah, but my background, my undergrad is in pharmacognosy. So
Okay.
I really understand plant medicine also at the same time.
So is that kind of more old school herbal remedies and those type of things?
Yeah.
Right.
So I completely understood how a new drug development happens and what is the whole process. In that process, we go through almost few thousand plant molecules to find a one that works on the receptors in the human body. And then we patent that and create synthetic in the lab. So I kind of knew like a lot of things had started making sense now.
Okay.
If it makes sense to you. Like, you're oblivious to the world. You're just not informed. Your parents don't know much. But then now your field of study along with your health problems is starting to kind of make sense why a lot of people are getting sick.
And when you have health problems, the problem, you did a lot of research on your own, but you also were in a situation where as a student in a heavily research discipline, you knew how to do research. A lot of people don't. And so you go on WebMD or something like that, and what you do is convince yourself you have 16 terminal diseases that you don't have, right?
Right.
Everything, I have that, and I have this, and I have that. Yeah.
Right.
I can't sleep, and I'm nervous. And, well, okay, those could be everything. It could just be anything. So
Yeah.
sometimes we get ourselves in trouble. There's all the kind of what I call snake oil salespeople on TV, all the pop-up ads and stuff that are selling you this pill and that ointment and this oil and those type of things. And some of them probably have legitimate uses, and a lot of them probably don't. None of them cure everything. So
it's a wild, wild west, and
Yeah.
that industry is not regulated, and that's the
Right.
biggest challenge. I could literally put dirt in a pill and just sell it to someone saying there's
and the truth
things
is,
in there.
dirt out of the ground probably has some nutritional value in it. Right?
It does.
And you could say that.
Right.
Although it's probably not the best thing to eat.
Right, because of all the other adulterations in it.
That's right. Yeah.
So yeah, I started doing research, and you'll be surprised, even like these medical students like myself in pharmacy school or medical school, when they're going through any blocks themselves of, let's say, cardiology or oncology, when you go through these symptoms and learn about them, you're feeling like WebMD. Like,
Yeah.
do
And I think the
have
same
this?
true when you're studying psychology. You study certain abnormalities, and you're convinced there's something wrong with you, right? Because everybody's got little bits of those in them, no matter what it is.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that can be very scary for people out there who are trying to figure things out. A lot of times we're not getting the straight scoop from the doctor we're sent to by our insurance, who really has more patients than they can handle. because the way
Right.
the system is set up, and they're really
Right.
designed to bill insurance companies to pay the bills. And I don't mean to knock any. I know there's great doctors out there. I have good doctors too that I go to, but I had to dig through to find it. And I did find I had to work outside of that system a lot. I do have the insurance in case I get run over by a car or diagnosed with cancer or something like that. But honestly, I pay out of pocket to go to the practitioners that are not covered under my insurance.
I pay all out of pocket. So
Yeah.
the insurance I have is just namesake. As
Well,
you
in
said,
case you
like
get run over by a
something
bus and you
come.
need to go into traction at the hospital or something, yes.
That's why you need life insurance and
Yeah.
car insurance more than even health insurance.
Yeah, but even the health insurance, you can get diagnosed with something where you do have to go to the hospital for some reason. That can be very, very expensive. And so you
Yes.
do have to have that.
Yes.
But I found that I have to invest out of my own pocket for the preventative side. Like I said, when I went to the doctor, I went to get things checked out. They ran blood panels. They ran multiple blood tests to find out what the chemistry was. And in the chemistry, they said, okay, here's what we figured out. Don't eat this, don't eat this, eat more of that. Here's some supplements you're going to need. And they kind of changed. It was a big lifestyle change. I found that a little more inconvenient. We're going to have to go to a break. I want to pick this up when we come back from the break. We're talking to Dr. Mansi Shah about gut health and healthy living and wellness and her journey to find this. And we'll be right back after this short message. Don't go anywhere. You might learn something about how to better take care of yourself and maybe alternatives to what you've been doing if you've been struggling with any type of health issues at all. This is Steve Matley on Building Solid Foundations. We'll be back right after this.
Fire Up Connect is the most innovative business networking group, supporting and collaborating with a dozen of small businesses that are interested in building and establishing strong business connections, hosting educational live seminars while carrying out business and community-driven projects, as well as marketing programs as a part of its membership program. Fire Up Connect also offers virtual assistance with a wide range of services including inbound customer support, chat support, appointment setting and email management, graphic designing, video editing, web design and development, social media marketing, e-commerce solution, content writing and much more. For more information, head on over to www.fireupconnect.com. Fire Up Connect, helping success stories unfold every day.
Real Men of Real Estate.
Men of Real Estate radio show here on KCAA.
Boats, mortgages can be purchased.
All of us want to live in thriving communities.
Basically, go to the radio station KCAA radio.com.
You can find us on your dial at 102.3 FM, 1050 AM, as well as 106.5 FM.
This is Steve Matley. Join me every Thursday at 3 p.m. right here on KCAA for Building Solid Foundations radio talk show. I spent decades as a professional construction manager, business owner, real estate developer, and a college educator, and I enjoy learning new things from other people. We talk a lot about real estate, business, and finance, but we cover a diverse range of other topics as well. Some of the topics we've discussed in the past few months include real estate investing, leadership, higher education, ADUs, marketing using technology, multifamily rental properties, business strategy, entrepreneurship. You never know who may show up or what they may talk about, so join us right here on KCAA for Building Solid Foundations Radio. Hi, this is Steve Matley. As a construction professional, I know the importance of selecting the right contractor for the job. Power Solar employs only professional installers. Power Solar will provide a knowledgeable consultant to help analyze your current electric bill, identify site placement, and correct solar technology for your home. Contact KCAA Producer at gmail.com for a free financial savings proposal with no obligation, or call 951-551-1350 and ask for Ken. Again, that's KCAA Producer at gmail.com or 951-551-1350 and ask for Ken. Welcome back to Building Solid Foundations. I'm your host, Steve Matley. We are talking with Dr. Mansi Shah today about pharmaceuticals. We're talking about health, wellness, nutrition. And when we left off, we were talking about getting familiar with your own personal body, going somewhere where you can find out what's really going on, and finding out a lot of times things are food based. Now, one thing I wanted to mention, you mentioned as 23-year-old as a student and your diet kind of going off the rails and causing a lot of health problems. A lot of this is time crunch. To eat healthy does take time. You have to get fresh fruits and vegetables. You have to get the foods and prepare them and cook them. You're not, even if you have restaurants that supposedly provide those, they have to make it taste good. And to make it taste good, they're going to be adding some, salts and whatever they need to do to dress it up a little bit, fats, whatever. They have to make it palatable. At home, you can control all that.
Right.
And I find I spend a lot of time. I spend probably 2 full evenings a week prepping all my food for the week and cooking things ahead of time, putting them in the fridge so I have them. And it's time consuming. And I kind of wish it'd be nice to go out and get that stuff. But when I go out to eat, I can never eat as healthy as I can eat at home.
That is so true. And that's why I'm a big, avid advocate of going to a farmer's market and getting your, fruits
But all
and
that takes
vegetables.
time. Because I can go to a super Walmart and run through and get a bunch of box stuff and get a few vegetables and get some dehydrated stuff and some frozen goods. And it's quicker. And then I go home and zap it in the microwave. And I got a busy day. I'm exhausted when I get home from work and I don't feel like doing it. But what happens later is you lose time because now you're sick. And if you don't take time to be well, you're going to take more time later recovering. Right.
And who knows, you might not even recover. Sometimes it's too far gone out.
You do some irreparable damage to your organs or something.
Right.
Right.
So that's the biggest challenge in this busy lifestyle. How are you going to eat to provide well for your gut?
Right. And then the budget's an issue too. For a lot of people, and students would be included in this too, they don't have a lot of extra money. And the inexpensive food items tend to be things that are grain-based. It's the rices and the breads and the artificial and processed versions of those.
Yes.
Right. It's the processed meats. It's the canned stuff.
Yeah.
And that is not the best for you. It's better than starving, I suppose, but it's not the best. But it's budget friendly, which is unfortunate. And that's what I've kind of learned in the process. It takes time and money to try and live healthy.
Well, you could put it as a general rule. Anything that's cheap out there is void of nutrition.
Most likely. And it's probably mass produced. And even when you're looking at fresh, okay, so let's say fresh meats, but are they full of hormones and antibiotics? Fresh vegetables, but are they loaded with pesticides? Right, or chemical fertilizers. And
glyphosate.
That's right.
One of the biggest issues.
Right, and so we could be eating what we think is healthy, and we're actually poisoning ourselves. And one of the surprises I had was what they call non-alcoholic fatty liver. Mm-hmm. Okay, I don't drink hardly ever. I drink maybe 3 or 4 alcoholic drinks a year, if that. I'm just not a big drinker. But I had the liver of someone that drank, and they were kind of surprised when I said I didn't drink. And they said, "Okay, well that's the grains and the sugars then." But then
yes,
what is alcohol made out of?
All the time.
Yeah, alcohol's made out of grains and sugars, right? And so they said, "Yeah, stop eating that stuff." And it wasn't gluten; it was just grains.
Grains and processed meats and carbs in general.
The simple carbs, yeah. The
simple carbs that are.
That's all the fun stuff.
We love that, but then, whatever our taste buds love is really detrimental to the body.
But I think we have to we've trained ourselves not to enjoy what nature naturally gave us. So if I eat healthy foods, just natural stuff, and I eat a strawberry, it's sweet and it's enjoyable. If I'm snacking on M&Ms and then I try to eat a strawberry, it's not enjoyable. It doesn't taste good at all because I've messed up my taste buds and what I think is supposed to taste right. So you have to kind of reset, and that reset is very difficult.
I think that's the biggest challenge because human body is designed to enjoy the foods that the nature give. But because of the processed man-made food that we have confused our taste buds and body with, that transition becomes really difficult because our neuronal pathways, neuroplasticity is built to only enjoy that. So that's where, the meditations can help. Like, of course, at the age of 23, I was meditating every day to be able to, have that strength to change my lifestyle every day, have self-control. And that's where I started.
Okay. Yeah. They put me on a month-long detox. where it was kind of what I would consider at that time flavorless smoothies out of fresh vegetables and those kind of things, right?
Right.
And just a lot of vegetables and herbs, no meat, no dairy, and then they, you could after the month you could add one item in to
Introduce.
see if it's an allergen or not, see if there's an issue there, right?
Right.
And it was tough, and the problem is when I started that, let's see, there was the local fair came up during that time. There was a major holiday. There was my birthday. There was graduations. All this stuff going on.
Right.
And everywhere you go, there's all this food, and you can't touch any of it. And
Bad
it's just
food.
all around you.
All around you. It's
Yeah.
like, how could you pick the 10% that you have to really pick and choose from, and 90% that's all just bad and really, really causing all these health problems?
Yeah,
That's the biggest challenge.
and there's that. How would you say that kind of prehistoric part of us that craves the high salt and the high fat and the high sugar, because for most of our history of mankind up until the last couple hundred years, we were in cultures and societies where you didn't know where your next meal was always coming from. For most people, there were always very, very few people that didn't have that problem. Most of the people, whether they were agrarian or even after the industrial age started, you scraped and you didn't know where all your meals are coming from. So you ate what you could when you could, and you needed something very satiating that would last. We are now in a more sedentary lifestyle with our cars and our office jobs and those things. We still crave all that stuff.
Yeah.
And we want that. And it's kind of, I guess, hyper satisfying, but it does make our bodies crave things that are the worst things. The human body, I've learned, is its own worst enemy in a lot of ways. What it craves are the things that will kill it.
All day. And I think just not the body. I think the biggest is the taste buds, how you train them. It's like a puppy.
Well, a lot of this is in the brain, because the brain has rewarded us with how enjoyable that was to eat the salt and the sugar and the fattiness and all those things. Yeah.
So all of that is all the work of gut microbiome. Like if someone reads the book, the Human Microbiome Project, it'll all start making sense how these microbiomes are producing chemicals that are sending signals to the brain. It's the gut-brain axis that makes a huge difference here.
Okay. So now, how does your passion for the health and the wellness, how does that tie into your travel and your study of different cultures? Are those linked? Or are
Well,
those
I'm
separate?
Indian, right, by birth. So just the fact that I'm Indian, I came to America, I've traveled to South America, I've traveled to Europe. Just seeing how different cultures kind of act around their food habits and their relationship with food, and how their practices in the community and how they choose to spend time, like what it means to be in an American culture versus an Indian culture versus a South American culture. Like all that really kind of fascinates me, and it really helps me deliver that to my patients on how to create a better relationship with their food.
Okay. And are there cultural differences in what people, not just people what prefer, we know there's cultural differences in preferences for what they eat, but are there cultural differences in what they should eat as far as what their body will best adapt to because of genetics or because that's what they were raised on or something, what their bodies become used to?
Yeah, there's multiple things, like your genetics, of course, play a part, and then how, like where you're living and how the environment is there along. So you have to combine your genetics with your environmental factors to get the best out of like how to get your health back.
So if you're, like you are, transplanted from one side of the world to the other, you've got a genetic and a primary culture where you ate certain foods, and you come here where it's a different environment. And so you have to modify that. So you have to stay somewhat true to that because that's what your body knows and works with. But at the same time, you have to adapt to where you are now, which is a different environment.
And culture, and the foods that are available are different, because there's native foods that you really possibly can't find all the time in America.
Especially the more perishable things, exotic fruits and those type of things, right?
Exactly, and you're used to that. So your gut microbiome has to be readjusted, but then there's so many different factors, like even the air quality where you're living will affect your gene expressions.
Okay, and that even within, say, even in the United States, the air quality region to region is very markedly different.
Like what it would be in LA versus what it would be in Vista versus what it would be in San Diego.
Or when you go, like I say, go up to the Northwest, and all those, it rains all the time, but it's not all that humid. But there's all those green trees, and it's a different type of air and breathing up there.
Yeah.
And then you go to the Southeast, it's very humid,
Right.
and kind of thick, and it's a different type of thing down there.
So the type of food that your gut will actually accept and absorb will change from environment to environment.
Okay. So it's and again, is doing blood panels and chemical work, is that the best way to start to figure out what's going on in your body?
Yeah, I would do the gut microbiome. I would do heavy metal. I would do, the full blood panel to see how the organs are doing. And then also NGX, which is nutrigenomic, how your ancestral gene is affecting your expression.
Okay, interesting. So there's a lot of facets to this, which is why you need to go work with someone that really knows what they're doing. You can start with doing some research on your own, but you really need to turn to someone that has a good background to help understanding and can help analyze things and actually look at what's going on. We're going to take another short break. When we come back, I want to get into this this issue of epigenomics, and we'll want to unwrap that for any of our listeners out there who don't know what that is. You're in my group, so we're going to find out when we come back. This is Building Solid Foundations. We're talking to Dr. Mansi Shah, and we'll be right back after this message. I'm your host, Steve Matley.
FireUp Connect is the most innovative business networking group, supporting and collaborating with a dozen of small businesses that are interested in building and establishing strong business connections, hosting educational live seminars while carrying out business and community-driven projects, as well as marketing programs as a part of its membership program. FireUp Connect also offers virtual assistance with a wide range of services including inbound customer support, chat support, appointment setting and email management, graphic designing, video editing, web design and development, social media marketing, e-commerce solution, content writing and much more. For more information, head on over to www.fireupconnect.com. FireUp Connect, helping success stories unfold every day.
Real men of real estate.
Men of Real Estate radio show here on KCAA.
Boats, mortgages can be purchased.
All of us want to live in thriving communities.
Basically, go to the radio station KCAA radio.com.
You can find us on your dial at 102.3 FM, 1050 AM, as well as 106.5 FM.
I love how New School is able to help me greatly with my career.
Because they actually have experience working in the field. The greatest thing about New School is the fact that there are so many different disciplines, which allows you to really understand and get a good insight into different types of design. And I think it's that whole changing mindset of what design can really do for a city, and this is kind of the place to be.
This environment cultivates creative thinking.
Hi, this is Steve Matley. As a construction professional, I know the importance of selecting the right contractor for the job. Power Solar employs only professional installers. Power Solar will provide a knowledgeable consultant to help analyze your current electric bill, identify site placement, and correct solar technology for your home. Contact KCAA Producer at gmail.com for a free financial savings proposal with no obligation, or call 951-551-1350 and ask for Ken. Again, that's KCAA Producer at gmail.com or 951-551-1350 and ask for Ken. Welcome back to Building Solid Foundations Radio. I'm your host, Steve Matley. We are talking today with Dr. Mansi Shah. We've been talking about gut health, nutrition, and really understanding what works for you and how to go about figuring out what works and what doesn't, how to adapt to changing environments, and getting in tune with what works genetically. And a word that's come up a couple times is this epigenomics. Now, it has nothing to do with economics. This is epigenomics, which has to do with epinomes, I believe. Is that it, right? Something to do
Well,
with...
epigenomics is a field of study
Right.
where we are understanding how your environmental factors, how your food, and how your surroundings is affecting your gene expressions.
Yeah, so this is going down to the DNA level of the human being.
Right. So you know how like our strands of DNA is formed, and then there was gene expressions in there.
Okay.
And DNA is something that we cannot change. It is something that we're born with.
Right. It's internal coding.
It's our
that
coding
makes
system.
us who we are. That's right.
Yes, absolutely. But how your DNA is protected or damaged will change how the expressions from it come out, which is the gene expressions.
Okay.
And there is a huge field of study that is done where you could literally take your gene chip and see where you are at right now, and then you do your detox and diet and nutraceuticals for 4 or 5 years or even 1 year, and then you see if your gene expression has actually gotten better.
So when we talk about gene expression, unpack that for us. What does that mean?
Gene expression is how well your body is maintaining like your biological age versus your chronological age.
Okay.
So let's say you're 45, 50, but your gene expression, if it's maintained well through all the factors that's affecting your DNA, you could literally go back in age.
Okay. That sounds probably appealing to most people. Most people over about 25, I think there's a point in your life you just want to always grow up and be older, and then pretty soon it switches overnight, and now you just want to be younger again.
Yes.
Right. Most of us are in the we want to be younger crowd.
Right. So that's what it is. It's basically understanding how we can freeze our age and actually go back in it. So it's a big concept around anti-aging because we can tie in, telomere shortening. We can tie in mitochondrial ATP production, reset of that, and all the goodies out there that they're trying to use for marketing for anti-aging. That's where this epigenomic field will come into play.
Okay, and so you're saying not just arresting the oncoming of old age, but actually going backwards a little bit, actually backing that up a little bit.
Right. So there's books out there where they talk about how aging is like a myth.
Okay.
Yeah. There's one good one written by Joe Chang. He's the chief medical officer at Pharmanex New Skin. And age mythology is basically something that he really talks a lot about. And gene expression studies is what they really do. So that was the first time I really dived deeper into the study and the research and learned about how we can actually even make it solid where we can actually see it. So LifeGen Technology is the one that started this whole field, and they were on Discovery Channel. It's an award-winning company, and that's what Pharmanex partnered with, and then AgeLock technology is what was born out of it.
So when we talked earlier segment about with the nutrition, how if we eat right and if we live healthy, we can avoid getting diseases. And most people's idea of how to deal with a disease is to deal with the symptoms, not the source of it. And on the anti-aging, we have a multi-billion-dollar industry out there of cosmetics and clothing and surgeries and everything else we do, coloring, and whatever we do to try and cover up the physical evidence that we're aging. And I think there's very little about how to actually undo the cause of aging. And in one sense, you're not going to stop chronologically getting older. That just happens. That's a time issue. But it's not so much about getting older as far as the number of how many years you are. It has to do with how fast your body is degrading.
Right.
Because all of us, as we get older, the body degrades.
Yeah, it's about how well you can maintain this vehicle, which is the car that you have, which is your body. And you've seen all these antiques or classics. They run so phenomenal. They look so good. Why? Because of all the work that's done on it. That's what we're talking about when we're talking about gene expression reversal.
Okay. Now, does this mean giving up all the really good stuff we like? There's no more cake and ice cream on our birthday, and we can't go to the big barbecue and all that type of thing?
Yeah, pretty much. It's been like processed sugar, it's been at least 15 years that I've touched it. So
Okay.
when people say that, oh, wow, you look like you're in your 20s, and I'm like almost approaching, I'm late 30s. So that's because of the lifestyle that I've adopted.
Okay. Now, I don't get that. I get people saying I act like I'm in my teens, but that's a different story. The weird thing, you know, and there's something about the way your body's set up. So for me, in my early 20s, I looked like I was 40 just because, you know, the hair recession and those kind of things just happened, right? But then it kind of locked in and stayed there for a long time. And then even when I was past my 40s, people said they thought I still was in my 40s. So for me, I just jumped ahead and stayed there, and then moved on. So I don't know. Maybe now I'm starting to look older. I don't know. But that's so some of it I think is just genetic, the way it is. But I think there's a lot we can do to live healthy. Like I said, I've been kind of a little on this journey myself. Not so much. I wasn't so concerned about trying to avoid getting older. I was more concerned about the opposite, I guess. Not getting old too fast. Not getting to the point where I can't be active, where I can't enjoy life, where the knees go out and the brain goes foggy and you don't have any endurance. And, the idea of what we grew up on, where when you get past a certain age, you're supposed to be in a rocking chair taking life easy and it's just sitting there. To me, that's the worst thing you could ever do. And there's the activity part of it, but there's also the nutrition piece of it. And I struggle with it because the truth is I was raised on all the really good food. I was raised on Mexican food and Italian food and hamburgers and barbecue, and that's a hard thing to try and give that up. And I see a lot of the effort out there is to find really poor substitutes for that, like the new
soy base,
the soy and the plant based, and you look at this Impossible Meat stuff and you read the ingredients and you're going, okay, this is from a laboratory, is where this is from, and you kind of want to say, well, if I'm going to eat something, it should either come from the ground or have a mother at least, right? So, and then there's debates about whether you eat meat or not or anything. It depends on who you are, I think. But if you're going to, you should be eating something that's real and healthy, something that was living, whether it was a plant or an animal, and lived healthy.
Right.
But we want to have our cake and eat it too, literally. We want the cake, but it needs to be a gluten-free, sugar-free, fat-free cake, which doesn't make sense to me. But that seems to be what our culture does.
Right. So that's the thing, is how much damage we do, and then if that like little bit that we do is even like hurting us or not, like it becomes complicated because of how we grow up and how we have expressed our genes so far. So that's the biggest challenge right now, is how do we eat well when there's so much chemicals, just chemicals and chemicals.
And then our society, our culture seems to be very built on a lot of the social aspect has to do around food. It's the restaurants. It's the happy hour. It's the banquet, right? It's a lot of that where you're not controlling it's whatever you're being fed there, right? It's what's on the menu. It's what's being the dish that's put in front of you at a banquet or something. And this seems to be so much of professional and social life in our culture.
Right.
A lot of the food that's not good for us is what's available. There's appetizers and hors d'oeuvres out there and those type of things. So how do we try and combat that?
Is the biggest challenge. So I personally, honestly, I just have very good self-control, and I don't eat anything that my body is not going to benefit from. Okay. So you need to look at food as something that you have a really holistic relationship with, where every time you're eating, make sure you're nourishing your body, and then ask that question, is this nourishing or it's not? Because every time you make that choice, you're either feeding a disease or healing the body.
So that flies in the face of the concept of eat healthy but have cheat days. Right.
Right.
And again, that's kind of a very cultural thing for us. We want everything. I want to do this, but I don't want to give all this stuff up. Right. And it's kind of like quitting smoking, but twice a month I can smoke a pack of cigarettes in a day. So it doesn't really work that way.
It doesn't. And then, of course, at the same time comes the challenge that every time you're cheating, how much damage is it doing to your body? Because flare-ups are huge once you have a disease state that has become full-fledged.
Well, and not only that, but I think it then re-triggers the cravings in your brain. You set yourself back on your ability to resist it, almost like any other addiction, like any other addiction. Yeah. If you have an issue with alcohol, you probably shouldn't even have a sip of a drink because you're going to want more of it, right? And I think that's, we have addictions, I think, to sugar and salts and fats and those kind of things in certain foods.
And chemicals like MSG.
Yeah, MSG. And when you read the ingredients, so I'm a big label reader now. I read a lot of labels, and I look through stuff, and if I can't pronounce things, I'm probably not going to buy them. I want to look at things that have a very, very short list of ingredients, and everything in there I recognize as something, again, it either came from the ground or had a mother, so I can relate to that.
Right.
But when it comes with all these fancy words, like, I don't know what it is, and I don't think I want to. It looks like the same list of what's in my laundry detergent.
Pretty much, yeah. That's what it's a part of my gut health protocol and teachings is reading labels. I was just doing that last Sunday with a patient for an hour. Like, I was like, go and get your laundry detergent, your deodorant, your toothpaste, and go and get the foods out of your fridge that has labels still on, and let's read it.
Yeah. And if you can't pronounce it, you probably shouldn't eat it. You probably shouldn't. And then on the skin, it does absorb in. We're going to take another quick break. We're going to come back for the final segment. And when we get back to the final segment, what I want to talk about is you mentioned you have an interest in figuring out how to monetize these concepts and make them work for people. So I want to get into that in our last segment when we come back. This is Building Solid Foundations Radio. We are with Dr. Matley Shaw, and we'll be right back after this short break.
Fire Up Connect is the most innovative business networking group, supporting and collaborating with a dozen of small businesses that are interested in building and establishing strong business connections, hosting educational live seminars while carrying out business and community-driven projects, as well as marketing programs as a part of its membership program. Fire Up Connect also offers virtual assistance with a wide range of services including inbound customer support, chat support, appointment setting and email management, graphic designing, video editing, web design and development, social media marketing, e-commerce solution, content writing and much more. For more information, head on over to www.fireupconnect.com. Fire Up Connect, helping success stories unfold every day.
Real men of real estate.
Men of Real Estate radio show here on KCAA.
Boats, mortgages can be purchased.
All of us want to live in thriving communities.
Basically, go to the radio station KCAA radio.com.
You can find us on your dial at 102.3 FM, 1050 AM, as well as 106.5 FM.
This is Steve Matley. Join me every Thursday at 3 p.m. right here on KCAA for Building Solid Foundations radio talk show. I spent decades as a professional construction manager, business owner, real estate developer, and a college educator, and I enjoy learning new things from other people. We talk a lot about real estate, business, and finance, but we cover a diverse range of other topics as well. Some of the topics we've discussed in the past few months include real estate investing, leadership, higher education, ADUs, marketing using technology, multifamily rental properties, business strategy, entrepreneurship. You never know who may show up or what they may talk about, so join us right here on KCAA for Building Solid Foundations Radio. Hi, this is Steve Matley. As a construction professional, I know the importance of selecting the right contractor for the job. Power Solar employs only professional installers. Power Solar will provide a knowledgeable consultant to help analyze your current electric bill, identify site placement, and correct solar technology for your home. Contact KCAA Producer at gmail.com for a free financial savings proposal with no obligation, or call 951-551-1350 and ask for Ken. Again, that's KCAA Producer at gmail.com or 951-551-1350 and ask for Ken. Welcome back to Building Solid Foundations Radio. I'm your host, Steve Matley. We are talking with Matley Shaw. She is a doctor of pharmacy, and we've been talking about all things wellness, health, gut issues, down to the DNA and the molecular level of people in staying healthy and eating, starting with nutrition, starting with what you're putting into your body in order to fight aging, in order to stay healthy, and to keep this vehicle moving along as we can in a worthwhile fashion. So what I want to get into, Monzi, is you have a passion for helping people figure out how to monetize these concepts, and that we think about, okay, well, this is something we do for ourselves, and it's going to cost us money. Like we talked about that earlier. That it takes time and it takes money to try and live a healthy lifestyle. But there's ways to actually monetize this. I mean, you can get a passive income through figuring this out. How do you do that?
Good question. So, when I was struggling with acquiring clients, people who would actually care about their health, and then also building income out of that, like that was my biggest challenge in the first few years of going full-time with a lifestyle medicine practice. So I found this amazing tool that I could use in my practice, which was a NutriBio test, and you put your hand on the scanner, it tells you what your score is. When the score comes out, it's basically your antioxidant score. So it's telling me if someone's eating well or not.
And you can do that with just a hand scan, not a blood test or MRI or any of that kind of stuff. Okay.
Hand scan, the most advanced technology. So it is a Nobel Prize winning technology, and Yale validated it with a 10-year study on the scanner,
Great.
which they are saying that it's as good as a blood draw. It's equivalent to a blood draw. Now, when I saw the scanner, my mind started working, my business mind. And I was like, okay, I can use this in my practice, but because it is a direct selling model, I get to build an organization, and I could show this scanner to different other providers and practitioners, and anybody who's a health enthusiast now wants to build a whole system-based income out of it. So that's what I did, and now I have about 58 scanners out there that are under my organization, and I've helped other practitioners or created practitioners from scratch who are doing nutrition counseling, and this scanner makes it happen with a system that is organized, and it's a turnkey system because it's replication of like what I'm doing, right? So it's a duplication, a scalability model, and now I have a 6-figure income out of it.
Okay, so it's a scanner, so that's the diagnostic part of it. But
Right.
then whoever has a scanner and they do diagnosis, they have to now figure out the program to
The
fix it.
solution.
The solution, that's right. Diagnosing
That's
is
where
great,
the
but now you got
money is.
Okay.
So I teach them how to create solutions around it.
Okay.
And how to design nutritional protocols, or how to basically do your coaching. So I am a gut health coach for patients, but I'm also a business coach and mentor for other practitioners who want to have a turnkey implementation of these protocols.
Yeah, do practitioners need certain licenses, certificates, those type of things?
Yeah, so a base model would be someone with basic understanding of how nutrition works, and then we do offer at the academy a certification too. So we are partner up with a accredited body which is doing that for the practitioners. But most of the people that I've built my business with are pharmacists, chiropractors,
So they've already got
acupuncturists.
the knowledge, background, and licenses.
Yeah, they're all at a certain level of their own practice, and then now they're implementing these gut health protocols.
Okay, so you're looking at physical health and also financial health kind of working together there.
Yeah, because everybody has to pay bills. Let's be honest.
That's true. That's the one thing we learn in this life is it takes a lot of money, time, and effort to maintain the physical body and just live here. Just the food, the shelter, the clothing, the education,
Right.
the healthcare, the pharmaceutical, the dental work, everything we need.
Everything, like our body, usually by the time from birth to we die, must be at least a good $5 million project, at least.
And I think we underestimate how much money goes into maintaining us.
Right.
And just the physical body, keeping it working, which of course without that that's the container that holds us, and we have to be functional.
It's basically the only place we really have to live.
Right.
Everything else is bonus.
Yeah, and of course there are people out there that have limited use of their body for whatever reason, and it's a challenge for them, which costs even more money to deal with now.
And then it costs our system, like
Yeah.
American healthcare system stands at around number 51 in the world's health systems, where how people are healthy is how it's evaluated. But we spend $7.5 trillion.
But how much do we spend on all those foods we talked about we're not supposed to eat, though? There's a huge industry out there of the junk food and the sodas and the booze.
And this industry doesn't want to stop.
Well, no, it's a big money maker.
We're in a clutch. We are mortgaging the future of our country and the health of our country.
Well, I find it ironic that the sporting events we watch on TV, which are probably the healthiest, most high-performing humans on the planet, are all sponsored by things that'll kill us. That those athletes can't be consuming. I find that very, it's a weird thing.
They probably never touch it.
They probably never would, or they wouldn't be able to perform at that level.
I think they do it once they retire.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. But it's a very cultural thing. But and all around the world, I've noticed that a lot of the American junk food has invaded a lot of other countries and areas, and so
I was surprised when I went to China. There were like KFCs and McDonald's, and people were fat in China.
And Doritos and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to wrap the show up. Dr. Mansi Shah, thank you for being on the show. It's been a great conversation. I feel like we just kind of
we just scratched the surface.
Exactly, just barely got going on this.
Yeah.
And there's so much more to discuss. Make sure you catch us every week. We're on live on Thursdays and Sundays at 3 p.m. on KCAA Radio. Catch us on Roku, Fire TV, or the Android Building Solid Foundations channel. Or you catch us on any one of the 15 podcast platforms that we're on. This is Building Solid Foundations. I am your host, Steve Matley, and we'll see you next time. And between now and then, go do something different.
See.